right now on the 5 o'clock news.
I couldn't even open the door if I wanted to. If I opened the door, I would have had the Hudson River in here.
Towns across upstate New York under a state of emergency as streets turn into rushing rivers. Infrastructure crumbled, homes destroyed, and one woman killed in catastrophic flooding. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verman.
And I'm Steve Lacey. Weather officials describing this as a life-threatening event that only happens once in 1,000 years.
Hundreds of people across Rockland and Orange counties needed to be rescued, including dozens of drivers. Water overtook this road in Orange County, tossing cars to the side. New York State Police helping everyone get to safety, using ropes and having people hold hands.
And at Stony Point, people became trapped inside their homes with the fire department rescuing victims by boat. We have team coverage of this deadly storm. Audrey's tracking the possibilities of more rain. Kendall Green's in Rockland County with a survey of the damage.
But first, we head to Ashley Rodriguez live in Fort Montgomery, where people are starting to clean up all this mess left behind. Ashley?
Well, let me just tell you, this has been an extremely hard and emotional day for the residents of Highland Falls. Let me give you an example of what they're dealing with today, what they woke up to. This is a photo album I found out here, completely covered in mud and destroyed. Not only that, they're grappling with the fact that their homes are also destroyed, and they're scared about how much it's going to cost them.
2 hours later, and it's still going crazy.
The first inch of rain fell Sunday around 1 in the afternoon. It was the first of 9 inches that would fall by Monday morning, the equivalent of 90 inches of snow.
When I'm saying how fast this happened, I'm talking all within 30 minutes.
Residents watched the bubbling streams in their backyards transform into raging rivers. The Fredericksons, a family with 5 kids under 11, watched as the water surrounded their home on all sides.
It was coming down and flooding my front. My kids are in the house and they're scared and they're crying.
In what's being considered a 1,000-year storm, roads, bridges, and homes crumbled under the weight of the water in an extraordinary and unexpected weather event.
This is the new normal. To be prepared for the worst, because the worst continues to happen.
Thousands of emergency crews were in place, fielding rescue calls from passengers stranded in swirling cars. A 35-year-old woman drowned trying to escape.
We discovered her remains. She was in the bottom of a ravine.
People were trapped inside their homes. Others were forced out as living spaces filled with water.
Computers, my paperwork, everything. I'm trying to get out what I can. My military pictures, everything. I feel awful.
Yeah.
I really do.
Residents spent Monday picking through moldy belongings, cleaning up mud and sorting through debris and broken concrete. The realization of how powerful the rain was setting in.
I'm scared for what's going to happen back here because there's nothing we can do. It's eating away at the whatever dirt and rock we have over here. Whatever's left from my foundation, it's just eating away at it.
A state of emergency declared means FEMA and the feds will help pick up the tab for the destruction, estimated to cost upwards of tens of millions of dollars and take months to repair.
It's all destroyed. It's all going in the garbage. It's going to mold up in a couple days, so. But I'm just going through the same thing again, and I don't know anymore. I don't know what to do.
What you're looking at right now was a road. This was a road. And where I'm standing is the place where the woman, the 35-year-old woman who was killed, this is where she was swept away. The water was so powerful over here. Residents telling me it was 4 feet high. And roads like this are throughout the community right now, and they have said it's going to take a long time to repair, making it a challenge for anyone trying to get in and out. In Highland Falls, Ashley Rodriguez, we'll send it back to you.
Wow, Ashley, thank you. And Fox 5's Kendall Green joins us now live from Stony Point.
And Kendall, what does the damage look like out there?
Hey, good evening, Steve and Natasha. Stony Point, the community here has endured a whole lot of damage here. Just take a look right here at these 2 homes. They were washed out, and you just take a look. There's just a lot of debris. How much debris has covered this porch, you have logs, twigs, and shrubs everywhere blocking the steps to the front doors of both of these homes. Now, this area was severely flooded with about 5 feet of water that came through during yesterday's storm. There were several emergency rescues where residents had to be evacuated from their home. Firefighters, EMTs, law enforcement all had to respond jointly and quickly to tend to some of these residents here. Homeowners with the worst damage you're seeing told us last night they were home at the time watching the rushing water from the Cedar Pond Brook right in front of their front yards just dump fragments of trees and limbs all over their lawns. As a result, they're now living without gas and electricity, but luckily they were able to return to their homes last night. Richard Byers lives next door to the couple alone, we should add, and he had to be rescued yesterday. And if it weren't for those first responders acting quickly, this story could be a lot different today.
I got stuck in the house because I went in the house to close my cellar windows because I didn't want the water to come through the open windows, of course. And I got trapped. I couldn't get out.
What was that like? I mean, you were trapped. How did you get out? What happened?
Well, they took me out in a boat. I didn't want to come out because I saw by then that the water was going down. So I said to the guy, the water's going down. He said, yeah, but it's going to rain again.
This is a storm that people who I've known from 20 or 30 years up here never saw anything like it. This is like a generational storm.
Now, officials estimate millions of dollars worth of damage here. We just spoke with the congressman who said he's going to do all he can to get some federal relief to these families. As for these families here, it's going to take them days, weeks, maybe months to recover, but they're going to be depending on all the help they can get from their friends and family. But for now, live in Stony Point, Kendall Green, Fox 5 News. Natasha, back to you.
That's a tough situation. All right, Kendall, thank you. Parts of Metro North's Hudson line left with major damage from the weekend storms. Tracks were literally underwater. There's debris, including mud, fallen trees, boulders. In some sections, bus service will now replace train service at the Croton, Harmon, Cortland, Beacon, and Poughkeepsie stations. Service also remains suspended on the Upper Harlem line, north of Southeast. For the most updated service information, you can visit mta.info.
And the intense rain and heavy flooding washed away part of a roadway in Orange County. Route 218 in Highland Falls will now have to be rebuilt following last night's storms. The asphalt and dirt underneath it gave way after getting hit by so much rain in such a short amount of time.
Such visuals there. Audrey Puente is joining us now for the forecast. And Audrey, just more rain on the way is just inconceivable to people who live there.
Well, you know, it's really off to the north where we're expecting just a couple of more showers. And yes, Natasha, they really don't need to see any more than they've already received. Here's a look at some of the storm totals for the entire duration of the event that happened here. Mahopac came in with over 8 inches of rainfall. The U.S. Military Academy up in Orange County came in also at over 8 inches. Same thing in Shrub Oak and Westchester. Lake Carmel came in at just over 7 inches. Stony Point, as you just saw where Kendall Green was, over 6 inches here, and Ossining, very close to Westchester County, 6 inches in that part of the county there. So we still have a flash flood watch for areas shaded in green here. This still includes parts of the Hudson Valley off to the north here, like around Poughkeepsie, over towards western Ulster County and Dutchess counties, also into the northern half of Connecticut. This is also where we've been seeing some rain showers today, and that's going to be exacerbating any flooding that has already occurred since yesterday. Right now, things are relatively quiet. We had a couple of showers roll through parts of Orange County into Putnam, but that has kind of fizzled out now as it works its way downstate into Rockland and Westchester County. Area-wide, though, we're overall dry, but there are a couple of showers off to the north, and that will be the greatest threat as we go through the rest of the evening here. We are expecting actually improving weather as we go through tonight. We're expecting drier weather as we go into the next couple of days, and temperatures are feeling pretty good right now, mostly in the 80s, but the dew points have come down significantly, making it much more comfortable. Tonight, we'll drop back into the 60s, which will be refreshingly cooler than last night, but we are going to turn up the heat this week. I'll have the details coming up. Stephen, Natasha.
Well, all right, thanks, Audrey. Well, it's already been a rough summer for air travel, and the weekend storms made things a lot worse. According to FlightAware, there have been more than 568 flight cancellations at LaGuardia in the last 24 hours, 428 cancellations at Newark Liberty, where delays are still averaging around 45 minutes, and more than 350 cancellations at JFK.
And for the latest storm updates, you can download the Fox 5 New York weather app to track the current conditions on interactive radar. You can find it for free in your favorite app store.
5 o'clock news.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Former President Donald Trump indicted again, this time on 37 federal felony charges. The 49-page indictment spelling out how Trump allegedly put national security at risk by leaving hundreds of documents detailing military and nuclear operations sitting inside his Mar-a-Lago home. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Steve Lacey. Natasha is off. Donald Trump now the first former president to be federally indicted on felony charges. Not only is he accused of mishandling classified documents, but also obstruction of justice, false statements, and conspiracy. We have team coverage as Trump continues his campaign for the White House. Chris Welch is looking at what this will do to his campaign and how GOP leaders are reacting. But first, we head to Morgan McKay, who breaks down what we have learned about the charges he's facing. Morgan.
Steve, this is the 49-page indictment unsealed by federal prosecutors just a few hours ago. Former President Donald Trump is being charged with 37 counts related to his handling of classified documents. Trump is due in court in Miami on Tuesday. The indictment says once a trial starts, it's expected to last 21 days.
Today, an indictment was unsealed.
Special counsel Jack Smith, who has been leading the investigation, speaking briefly after federal prosecutors unsealed the 37-count indictment against former President Donald Trump. This indictment alleges Trump mishandled more than 100 classified documents after leaving office and obstructed the government's efforts to reclaim them.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
The indictment says that Trump took classified documents that included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the U.S. and foreign countries, U.S. nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the U.S. and its allies to military attacks, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The indictment shows pictures of how Trump haphazardly stored these classified documents in boxes stashed around Mar-a-Lago. On one date, Trump's aide texts an employee a picture of one of the boxes fallen on its side with documents strewn on the floor. Prosecutors allege that Trump twice showed some of these documents to other people in 2021 at his club in Bedminster, New Jersey. They also obtained an audio recording of Trump showing off a plan of attack document with what he calls secret information to at least 4 people. The smoking gun being this part. Trump saying, quote, "This was done by the military and given to me. I think we can probably, right?" A staffer cutting in saying, "I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to," Trump interrupts, quote, "declassify it." Prosecutors say this shows Trump knew he had classified documents.
This is a trial where a lot of the evidence is going to be basically the prosecutor pressing play on a device. They have him dead to rights.
Prosecutors also charged Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, with 6 counts, including obstruction. According to the indictment, Trump and Nauta tried to hide some of the documents so that Trump's attorney couldn't find them. Trump has repeatedly insisted he has done nothing wrong, taking to Truth Social last night to call this case a witch hunt.
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
President Joe Biden says he will not be commenting on the case for now and added he also has not yet spoken with Attorney General Merrick Garland.
I have not spoken to him at all. I'm not going to speak to him. No comment.
Now, in a bit of a surprising shakeup, Trump's 2 attorneys announced today that they are resigning from the case. This after last night, one of Trump's lawyers made the media rounds defending him. Trump's new attorney will be Todd Blanche, who is also representing Trump in the criminal case here in Manhattan. Steve?
Very well. All right. Thanks, Morgan. A reaction from both sides of the aisle pouring into the bombshell developments. And a big question tonight, what does it mean for Trump's campaign moving forward? Chris Welch continues our team coverage live in the newsroom with more on that part of the story. Chris?
Yeah, Steve, in the short term, this could actually help him secure the nomination. Now, long term, that may not be the case. But what's interesting on some of the responses we're seeing so far, even some of those who have come to Trump's defense on legal issues in the past are acknowledging that this indictment is serious.
It is an extremely damning indictment. This is not an indictment that you can dismiss.
Reaction following the news of Donald Trump's 37-count indictment is generally falling into 2 camps. The first, Democrats and a slow and steady trickle of Republicans who believe that the indictment is one that should be taken seriously.
The prosecution of former President Donald Trump sends a message that no one, not even a former president, is above the law.
What is now starting to come out is some really explosive and damning evidence.
And Republican Senator Mitt Romney writing in a statement this morning that the DOJ appears to have afforded Trump, quote, the time and opportunity to avoid charges that would not generally have been afforded to others. He goes on, quote, Mr. Trump brought these charges upon himself by not only taking classified documents, but by refusing to simply return them when given numerous opportunities to do so. Mike Pence, Trump's former vice president and current opponent for the 2024 Republican nomination, called the matter very serious.
I had hoped that the DOJ would see its way clear not to move forward here. But let me be very clear. No one is above the law.
Those who fall into the second camp, predominantly the tried and true defenders of Donald Trump.
When you think about what they're trying to indict President Trump on, you've got a sitting president right now in the exact same situation. You have a former First Lady, Senator, Secretary of State that had the same situation that nothing was done to her.
But the key difference between Trump and Biden's situations, says political analyst David Birdsell, Trump refused to cooperate.
So there is a progressive pattern of behavior that became more and more obstructive and more plainly inaccurate, if not frankly dishonest, with regard to the operations of the government.
As to whether the indictment helps or hurts Trump's primary campaign,
I think, in fact, this probably makes it slightly more likely that he becomes the Republican nominee.
So why does David Birdsell think that? Well, he says this will no doubt gin up excitement within Trump's core base. He also expects to see exactly what we saw after the indictment of Donald Trump here in New York, when he got a massive boost in fundraising. But as to a general election win, because of the independents that this might turn off, it could be a tougher uphill climb come November of 2024. Steve, back to you.
Very well, all right. Thanks, Chris. And coming up at 5:30, a former federal prosecutor will join us live to discuss how he thinks court proceedings will play out.
A judge reveals the names of the people who guaranteed $500,000 to bail out Congressman George Santos.
The man accused of stabbing another man to death on a J train speaks exclusively with Fox 5 about why he says he felt he had no other choice but to pull out a knife.
But first, breaking news, the 4-day search for a missing submersible has taken a turn for the worse. Debris of the Titan sub has been found on the ocean floor with the 5 people on board believed to be dead. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verma.
And I'm Steve Lacey. The U.S. Coast Guard says the debris matches images of the watercraft and is consistent with a catastrophic implosion.
Fox 5's Teresa Briolo joins us live in the studio. And Teresa, what has the Coast Guard been able to learn about the sub's final moments?
Yeah, Natasha and Steve, there are a lot of questions about when the Titan imploded, but the Coast Guard believes it did. There are 2 debris fields on the ocean floor, and it shows what, as Steve mentioned, is being referred to as a catastrophic event.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible.
It is the discovery most feared by those connected to the Titan submersible.
The debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families.
All 5 members of the tourist vessel have been killed, including UAE adventurer Hamish Harding, a Pakistani billionaire and his teenage son, the owner of Ocean Gate, Stockton Rush, and Titanic expert P.H. Nargeolet, who had been to the Titanic wreckage 40 times, but this time would be his last.
The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event.
It's not yet known when the vessel imploded. Was it on the trip down to the Titanic, or was the crew in distress and attempting to abort the mission? Naval experts would only say its sonar devices would have picked up an implosion if it had occurred when they were in the water.
We know that as we've been prosecuting this search over the course of the last 72 hours and beyond, that we've had sonar buoys in the water nearly continuously and have not not detected any catastrophic events.
The debris was scattered 200 meters or roughly 600 feet from the bow of the Titanic, but retrieving any piece of the Titan's wreckage or the bodies of the crew on board might be the next impossible task.
So remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, will remain in the area in the hopes of being able to salvage some parts of the Titan's wreckage. Since this vessel was carrying citizens from at least 3 nations, it will take an international cooperation to continue this recovery effort and bring it to a conclusion. Steve and Natasha.
Very well. All right. Thanks, Teresa.
Right now on the 5 o'clock news.
This continues to be a public health crisis.
City officials telling people to not let their guard down. The sky might look better today, but the air is still unhealthy.
Oh, it was really bad because I have asthma. So I have to go to the doctor today.
New Yorkers waiting for a breath of fresh air. How health experts say you can protect yourself and smoke-proof your home or apartment. And the source of all this bad air is hundreds of miles to the north. How long it could take for crews to knock out wildfires burning in Canada. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verma. And I'm Steve Lacey. School was scheduled to be out for some New York City students tomorrow, but now public schools are telling all students and staff to stay home tomorrow. Learning will pivot to remote. And we have team coverage on the air quality tonight. Linda Schmidt has us covered on air travel and how the haze is affecting flights today. Jessica Formoso is taking a look at how New York is now helping Canada get control of these massive wildfires. But first, we want to head to Antoine Lewis, who joins us live from Battery Park. All right, Antoine, what do the mayor and governor have to say about day 3 of this situation?
I was planning to go for a walk in the park, but after having a look at this, I think I'll turn around and go home.
The heavy rain has moved out, but not before cascading down on the tri-state all day, leaving behind flooding. But if you think we're done with this storm, oh no. The weather threat is far from over. Lingering winds are already toppling trees. Good evening, I'm Richard Giacovas in for Arthur. Tonight, the torrential rain has subsided, but the deluge has left a soggy mess. Take a look at this video. Pooling water manifesting on numerous roads, including the Mosholu Parkway in the Bronx. Some motorists braving it out, while others deciding to turn around. The same sentiment on the Cross Island Parkway in Queens. Cars and buses causing massive waves as they plowed through the water. And in Central Park, people called 911 because cars were submerged in water. The NYPD says they successfully rescued 3 people from 2 vehicles. We have team coverage tonight. Jessica Formoso is live in North Bergen, New Jersey, where people are working on drying out. But first, we head to meteorologist Liv Johnson in the Weather Center. Liv, how much rain did we get today?
Right now on the 5 o'clock news.
I also believe Prime Minister Netanyahu has lost his way.
Strong words there from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, saying Israel should hold a new election to replace Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Plus, the murder conviction of Jamaican dancehall icon Vybz Kartel has been overturned, but he's not totally in the clear. But we begin with breaking news tonight. A surprise move by the Manhattan DA's office. Prosecutors are suggesting a 1-month delay in Trump's hush money trial. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verma. And I'm Steve Lacey. Jury selection was expected to begin in under 2 weeks, but the anticipation for this trial now could be drawn out. Fox 8's Teresa Briello joins us live in the newsroom with details on this reasoning for the possible setback. Teresa.
Yeah, Natasha and Steve, by now our viewers know that the former president isn't facing 1, but 4 criminal cases. Today, at least 3 of them had major developments. The latest, the hush money trial, due to begin in New York City later this month. So jury selection is due to begin March 25th. Trump was indicted a year ago by the Manhattan DA on charges relating to hush money payments allegedly made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Today, DA Bragg filed a motion with the court saying they would be open to a 30-day delay to examine newly disclosed evidence in the case from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This seems like a simple request, but there actually may be more to it.
Do I think 30 is enough? If I'm the defense attorney, just by the numbers, I would say no. Do I think 60 could be enough depending on what's in there? I would. Judge Merchant is going to want to know, once it's turned over, what's in there, what needs to be done with it, and then hear from the parties as to what a reasonable time is necessary in order for everybody to do their jobs. But again, if they just got the documents, the district attorney's office has to review them first. Then they have to turn over those that are discoverable.
So meantime, we're awaiting a decision on the Georgia election interference case in which a judge is determining if Fulton County DA Fani Willis can remain on that case. And that'll put her head-to-head with the former president. The judge has said that he is on track to offer a decision this week. Trump and his other co-defendants are seeking to disqualify Willis after they allege that she benefited financially by hiring Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, a man that she was romantically involved with prior to the Trump case. Now, Trump received this news from a Florida courtroom while he appeared earlier today. His team is arguing his access to classified records was not a violation of the Presidential Records Act, that those records are personal in nature and the charges are unconstitutionally vague. The DOJ refutes that. So far, a trial date has been set for May. However, as with most of these cases, there's a lot of room for delays, but the farther that they are pushed out, the closer they get to the general election in November. Natasha and Steve, back to you.
All right, Teresa, thank you. Well, we first brought you this story as breaking news yesterday. A family crossing the street in Queens is hit by a driver. A mother left heartbroken after her 8-year-old son is killed and his older brother injured.
All right, Fox 5's Linda Schmidt live in East Elmhurst after the suspect appeared in court earlier today. Linda.
Yeah, first of all, good evening to both of you. And this little boy, he should have been celebrating his birthday next month. He would have been 9 years old. And family, they are telling me that he was a huge soccer fan. He loved Messi, the superstar who plays for Argentina. And his mom and dad had already bought him his birthday gift. They hadn't given it to him yet, though. It was Messi's uniform. But now, instead of being able to do that, this is what they have. This right here behind you can see a gentleman standing. They got balloons, flowers, candles at a makeshift memorial for their little boy. Again, he would have been 9 years old. By the way, the driver who is accused of hitting him has 4 prior arrests for driving with a suspended license. 2 from 2009 and 2 from 2010. Family and friends in shock, saying there are no words. 8-year-old Byron Palomino Arroyo hit by a driver and killed in this crosswalk just 1 block from his home.
This kid had a life. He had a future, man. And now I got to see his mother every day in the morning, and I just can't say anything to her.
The memorial for the little boy growing at the intersection of 31st Avenue and 100th Street in East Elmhurst, Queens. About 4:15 yesterday afternoon, in broad daylight, Byron, his 10-year-old brother, and their mother were crossing the street with the right-of-way when police say the driver of this Nissan Titan pickup truck recklessly made a left turn, speeding to beat the oncoming traffic and hit the little boys.
They speed like crazy in this road right here.
52-year-old Jose Barcia is charged with criminally negligent homicide and speeding, among other charges. Court records reveal that Barcia says he had just dropped his wife off and was on his way to work. He says he did not see the family in the crosswalk. He felt a bump, heard screaming, and then stopped. Police say Barcia was the first person to call 911. Now, as I reported at the top, the 8-year-old little boy's brother, who is 10 years old, he was also hit. He has a wrist injury, and thankfully he is going to be okay. But this family is from Mexico. Family, they are telling me they've lived here for about 13 years now. The mom, a stay-at-home mom, the father working in construction, working here to make a better life for their family, and now they are dealing with this unimaginable tragedy. Tonight, there is going to be a candlelight vigil here at the scene. Back inside to you.
All right, absolutely heartbreaking. Thanks, Linda. A temporary ceasefire could be reached between Israel and Hamas by next week. What the president revealed about the deal today while here in New York City.
And the Soho murder suspect in court for separate crimes in Arizona. What authorities say he planned to do next if he wasn't stopped.
But first, the 3 people wanted for shooting and killing a man on a Bronx subway are now in custody. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Steve Lacey.
And I'm Natasha Verma. The arrests come on the same day the MTA released new subway crime stats showing violence underground was up 45% last month.
All right, Fox 5's Arthur Chen live in the Fordham Heights section of the Bronx with more on what we know about the suspects tonight. Arthur.
Steve, Natasha, what we know about the suspects is that they were arrested today and brought down to the 46th Precinct Station House here in the Bronx. They have not been charged, but we are told that's pretty much imminent because there's a level of confidence in this case, given a new tool that's being used to make the subways safer. We believe it's the first time we're seeing this. If you'll notice in the past when surveillance videos release, it's usually from the turnstile area. But in this case, police say they have the entire incident recorded beginning to end through surveillance video taken inside the subway car where it went down. Less than 24 hours after releasing the identities of the 3 suspects wanted for the deadly shooting, police arrested the trio: 24-year-old Justin Hurd, 38-year-old Betty Cotto, and 42-year-old Alfredo Trinidad. The NYPD making the announcement alongside the MTA, saying a security camera on board the train filmed the altercation.
Over the weekend, identifications were made, and there are 3 people in custody right now. That's as far as I'm going to go in relation to that. Just recognize this and respect this is an active investigation. This is a homicide investigation. This is as serious as it gets.
Early Friday morning, 45-year-old William Alvarez was riding a southbound D train when an argument broke out between him and one of the suspects. It escalated. 2 others joined the suspect, and at least 1 shot was fired, killing Alvarez. His shooting death was the 2nd in the Bronx so far this month and comes amid a 45% jump in subway crime so far this year compared with last year. Officials often say that subway safety is as much about perception, but at this point this year, it's not just perception that's the problem.
We've got individuals roaming the subway with guns, with weapons. Our police officers are being assaulted.
Even with the 3 suspects in the latest deadly subway shooting under arrest tonight, City Hall and the NYPD acknowledge there is an issue and say they have been flooding the system with as many as 1,000 extra police officers a day to patrol the subways as needed. But they also say some of the suspects they've chased down so far have been arrested 50 times or more before, saying the problem the city faces is that of a judicial system with no consequences, even in cases of violence.
We're making arrests at or near historic highs. The question is, why are we arresting certain people 50 times, 100 times? At what point is there going to be consequences?
As for police, they say that surge is working. We will know exactly how well it's working when the numbers come out at the end of February. As for the murder of the subway rider here in the Bronx last Friday, police tonight have arrested 3 individuals. They're being questioned at the 46th Precinct Station House right now. We do believe charges for them are imminent. We're live in the Fordham Heights section of the Bronx tonight. Arthur Chuyan, Fox 5 News. Steve, back to you.
All right, thanks, Arthur. Today, the man accused of a brutal Soho hotel murder appeared in Arizona court to face separate charges there. Arizona authorities say 38-year-old Rod Al-Mansouri went on a crime spree out west. Police say he stabbed a 22-year-old woman in the neck while trying to carjack her, stabbed an 18-year-old McDonald's employee in the restaurant's bathroom, then carjacked a driver. Authorities say the suspect was also trying to murder his family.
He was going to hire an Uber driver, find a means to kill the Uber driver, take their vehicle in order to complete the killing of his father, stepmother, burning the house down.
After his arrest, police say Al-Mansouri admitted to murdering a 38-year-old woman at the Soho Hotel. An Arizona prosecutor continues, though, to send him back to New York City to face charges. She claims Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg cannot be trusted and would only let him out on bail.
The 15-year-old migrant accused of shooting a tourist inside a Times Square store pleaded not guilty today. A grand jury indicted Jesus Rivas Figueroa on multiple charges, including attempted murder. Prosecutors say the Venezuelan migrant opened fire earlier this month after he was approached by an employee for allegedly shoplifting. Investigators say he then fired at the officers who were chasing him. He remains in jail without bail. Police are investigating a deadly shooting in Brooklyn tonight. It happened off Franklin Avenue in Crown Heights. This is Citizen App video. Investigators say a 37-year-old man was found shot in the head around 4 o'clock this afternoon. If you have any information on this case, you're being asked to call Crime Stoppers. Negotiations continue for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The fighting's been ongoing since October, and according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, more than 29,000 people have been killed in Gaza since the start of the war. Negotiations for a temporary ceasefire and the release of Israeli hostages in recent days have made progress. President Biden in Midtown today, and after taping a late-night talk show, he spoke about the possible ceasefire deal.
My national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday, we'll have a ceasefire.
This was the president's second visit to the city this month.
The Yankees star slugger is out a lot longer than we expected. What we are learning tonight about Aaron Judge's torn ligament. Plus, this weekend, it's the pinnacle of pride, how people are preparing for the big parade tomorrow. And the Russian rebellion leader ends his march on Moscow after a deal is reportedly made with Putin. Good evening, I'm Arthur Chien. The people confirming this deal are Kremlin officials and Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin. As part of this deal, Prigozhin and his troops are leaving Russia and going to Belarus. In return, criminal charges against him are being dropped, but there are still many unknown factors in what exactly happened as this group turned on Russian President Vladimir Putin. Fox 5's Jessica Formoso joins us right now with how foreign security experts are analyzing what's been happening tonight. Jessica.
Arthur, a lot of confusion as to really what happened in Russia. This morning it seemed there was an attempted coup. By the afternoon it had been stopped. How and why? Well, those questions remain unanswered tonight. And experts we spoke to say we have to be very cautious with the information we are getting from Russian officials.
These are the first images of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner private military force, and his troops as they left Rostov-on-Don Saturday night. They were cheered on by some local residents who treated them as heroes. Earlier in the day, the rebellious Russian mercenary commander appeared to control the Russian military headquarters in the southern city. Prigozhin had called for an armed rebellion to the country's defense minister for allegedly attacking his group in Ukraine.
He's criticized the generals, he's criticized the defense minister, he's criticized the top echelons of the military brass of Russia for a long time.
He then ordered his troops to march on Moscow. Moscow bracing for their arrival, but en route, he decided to pull back to avoid, quote, shedding Russian blood. Alan Sanders is a professor of political science at St. Peter's University.
One thing is clear, though, to me, and that is that the Wagner Group, which Prigozhin headed, was one of the more efficient and successful fighting units that Russia deployed against Ukraine. Now that really has put into serious doubt. There now are some cracks in the Kremlin leadership, in the Kremlin chain of command. How deep those cracks are, we don't really know.
The Kremlin saying a deal had been reached with Prigozhin. According to the Associated Press, Belarus's president negotiated the deal with him after discussing the issue with Putin, saying he and his troops will now move to Belarus, and in return, criminal charges against him and his army were dropped.
I would watch the movements of Prigozhin carefully because he has to, one, get to Belarus. Two, I'd honestly be surprised if he survived much longer, whether this was set up or not, or whether it was an actual coup attempt or not.
Before Prigozhin agreed to turn around, Putin had vowed harsh consequences for the man who at one time was his protege. In a televised speech to the nation, Putin called the rebellion a betrayal and treason.
Any turmoil is a deadly threat to our statehood, to us as a nation. This is a blow to Russia, to our people.
Well, it certainly is an embarrassment because it's the first time that we've seen any kind of military upheaval that is aimed at Mr. Putin.
Now, these developments come exactly 16 months after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, according to a statement from the White House, it is avoiding any comment that could be misconstrued to suggest that the U.S. is taking a side in the apparent internal conflict. Arthur?
All right, thanks very much, Jessica.